Okay, my name is Dick Hoffman. I'm the owner of Hoffman Pecan Farm. We began this business almost 50 years ago. With me on the right is Glenn Hoffman, my middle son, and on the left is Donnie Hoffman. He's the youngest. We have three sons. The other one is not here today. My wife and I moved here, and we had lots of native pecans on the farm, and we just got started grafting them in 1957.
What year did y'all move here?
What year did you move here?
1962.
Okay.
We start grafting in
And started
67.
grafting in 69,
67.
which was about 3 years later. We decided when we started producing pecans that we would retail our pecans, and we found out really quick that without cracking the pecans, that you couldn't really retail them. So we bought a cracker, and now we have about 1,000 trees, and we crack for customers that bring pecans into our business here to get them cracked. And we also retail pecans year round, and we sell to about 10 stores in Stillwater and ship nationwide. I got on OSU's grafting wood list in 1981. In order to make a pecan tree, you have to take wood off of a current tree and graft it onto a tree to get the same variety. You can't plant a nut and make a paper shell pecan. You have to, they won't grow to the nut. We generally sell somewhere around 5,000 or 6,000 sticks of grafting wood a year, and we ship wood to about 6 foreign countries like China, South Korea, the Netherlands, France, Portugal, and all over the pecan belt.
When we first started harvesting the pecans and stuff, we would actually have to crawl up in the trees to shake them out because we didn't have the tree shakers or anything that you could do it. So, you know, we were still young enough at that time that we could crawl up in the tree and actually shake the tree limbs and stuff ourselves and get the pecans down. And then we would pick up the pecans by hand on the ground. And now we've got the tree shakers that shake all the trees for us, and we've got harvesters that we can drive around the tree that will pick up all the pecans for us without having to actually do it, you know, by hand now like we used to.
Season for pecans generally starts in about October. We start harvesting, and the pecans are kind of considered a holiday nut, so most of our sales run between the 1st of November and January the 1st. They're used a lot for Thanksgiving and Christmas, you know, for like I say, a holiday nut. They're very healthy. They're healthiest of all the nuts, and they're becoming more used year-round than we're seeing a lot more used year-round because of the health benefits in pecans. We've grafted for other people. You know, we've been all over Oklahoma grafting pecans for some of the larger growers, and it's kind of fun to go out and, you know, put a stick on a tree and watch it grow.
How many different varieties can you get skybones from?
We have about 100 different varieties because of selling the grafting wood. You know, they grow a different tree in Kansas than they do in Texas a lot of times because of the amount of growing season we have. You know, in Kansas, the late ripening varieties won't ripen, so they have to have the northern, what we call a northern variety for the north part of Oklahoma and Kansas and up in the northern part of the pecan belt. It takes a lot of water to grow a pecan. A large pecan tree can use as much as 100 gallons of water a day. And, you know, we didn't get the rains this year like we needed. And most of the pecans didn't develop or produce unless they were irrigated orchards.
And most of the time, you don't irrigate. Most of the time, you don't need irrigation.
You need to supplement irrigation, especially even in Georgia. They have a lot of irrigated orchards because it's critical most critical between June, July, August, and September, and into early October. And a lot of times in Oklahoma, that's our driest part of the season, you know, July and August especially. And that's when the pecan is developing, it's sizing up, and it's filling out. And without water, they won't make a good quality nut. They recommend about an inch of water a week, and you can't get that with the rain, so you have to supplement it with irrigation. It's very important in developing pecan, you know, the development of the pecans, to size them up and fill them out and have the good quality. One of the things that OSU did with their research is found out that the pecan overproduces pretty bad. The paper shells especially. They don't have enough leaf surface to fill out the nut. So they come up with mechanical nut thinning, and they trick about half of the nuts off the first week of August. By doing that, the pecans that's left on the tree become very high quality, and they have a lot more flavor, a lot more oil in them, and the pecan tree will come back the next year and produce a good crop the next year. If you overproduce it, it's stressed out and it doesn't build up enough reserve to work for the next year, and it won't produce anything the next year. And we've been mechanical thinning for about 35 years, and most generally, unless we have a late freeze in the spring, we make the crop almost every year. And the quality is much better in the pecans that we produce.
Tell me about how as far as the varieties that you produce here to sell to people, how that's changed over the years. Like going from the Stewarts to the Kansas and the Pawnees.
The Stewart was a seedling pecan found growing in Jackson County, Mississippi in about the middle 1850s. And it was probably the most Cadillac of the pecans until probably around 1950. Down at Byron, Texas, they started a program where they cross-pollinate and develop new varieties. And from that time on, we've seen varieties that have Native American names, mainly like the Mohawk, the Choctaw, the Comanche, the Apache, the Sioux, and on. In 1984, they released a variety called Pawnee. In about 1990, they released one that was called Kansas. These two have become the most popular pecans grown now in Oklahoma. They ripen early, they have the great flavor, and especially the Kansas is very disease resistant. So we're looking for something that doesn't scab, and we don't have to do as much maintenance or spraying, and it's a lot cheaper to produce. The Kansas also is a little smaller nut, and the tree can handle a little larger load on it than they can of the really super large nuts like the Mohawk. The Mohawk, we have to take about 50% off. On the Kansas, maybe 25% of the nuts we shake off in August. But the early ripening is important for this part of the state because, like this year, we got an early freeze in October, and some of the nuts weren't shuck split, and they'll never be any good because the shucks won't open. And once they freeze, it's over. In 2000, we got a freeze the 8th, 9th, and 10th in October, and it pretty much wiped out the whole crop. Even the early varieties weren't really completely open. But we try to use the earlier varieties for this far north in Oklahoma. And in the south, they can grow about anything, but they still get hit with a freeze occasionally. But up here, it can happen once out of every 3 or 4 or 5 years pretty easily.
So,
When we first started the cracking business, we would use the Myers crackers that would crack, 50 to 60 nuts a minute. And we wound up running about 5 of those. And it finally got to the point where we would literally run them 24 hours around the clock. When Lee would get off work at the post office, he would come out and take a shift of running it. When I would get done coaching ball games at night, I would come in and run it all night long, and Dad would get up around 4:35 in the morning, relieve me, and where he would take it over and start cracking. And we would literally have to crack 24 hours a day to be able to keep up and to be able to get everything stocked. And, from running the old Myers crackers at 50 nuts, 60 nuts a minute, we get our first Savage cracker that cracks 500 nuts a minute. With the one machine, we could do what all 5 of them were doing and do it better. And then you add another machine, the next thing you know, you're not having to do that all night long. And we're too old for that stuff so, these days. But
One thing that we're really proud of is that we get customers come from several miles away to get their pecans cracked. With the machines that we're running now, they can wait on them and take them home with them, so they don't have to leave them and then make another trip back. We had a customer came from Kingfisher one day with 1,200 pounds. He went to town and had lunch, and when he got back, an hour and 15 minutes later, his pecans were ready to go. We cracked 1,200 pounds of pecans in an hour and 15 minutes and had them completely ready to take home. So with the machines that we're running now, people don't have to drop them off and then come back later.
Yeah.
We try to be customer friendly with everything that we do. Our prices are one of the lowest in the state, and we sell one of the best products in the state. So that's how we grow our business, is by word of mouth and everything, because if you sell a good product and you give good service, people will come find you.
Did y'all ever sell like just on the market instead of directly to consumers?
Yeah, we pretty well started, when we started doing it, we went ahead and started trying to sell. When we first started, we added on a little room on the side of the garage. It was just a little, it wasn't probably 16 by 16 room maybe.
Yeah, very small.
We had all the stuff, and that's what we worked out of, and then we realized that wasn't near big enough for everything. So, we built and added on, and thought, that was about 10 or 12 years ago, and thought that was gonna be enough room to last us, forever. And now we're almost running out of room again. We're almost to the point we need to expand again and add, more room and more stuff on. And just, it keeps kind of growing and getting bigger every year. And it's, and it's good because we're about all, I'm retired now, and my other brothers are almost retired. And it's not long till it's gonna take all of us to keep up with everything.
And are you doing a lot more marketing, or is it just word of mouth and it sells itself as long as you?
Pretty well just word of mouth. We really haven't done any marketing or advertising or anything at all. Everything that we pretty well have done has just been, word of mouth is the biggest part of it. We've got into some different locations, some stores and some stuff, and we started doing a lot of shipping. People started mailing gifts. Well, then when they would get the gift, then all of a sudden they would call and order and decide to send gifts. And so now our shipping's, when we first started, we wasn't doing any shipping. And now it's nothing to ship, 400 or 500 packages a year easily, or more. And so, that's really increased over the years, is how much shipping we've done. And